Why did you even apply to our company, which requires a college degree, when you're just a high school dropout? Your resume isn't worth looking at. You don't even have the qualifications to apply.
During the final interview at a top tire company, the interviewer, a graduate of a prestigious university, turned out to be my former classmate from high school who always looked down on me.
Decisions made, no job for a poor high school dropout. Got anything else to say?
The sound of tearing paper echoed in the interview room as the interviewer ripped up my resume. I was momentarily surprised, but then I smirked and retorted, "Good luck with your job search starting tomorrow." Huh? The interviewer looked confused, not understanding what I meant. Of course, he wouldn't understand now, but everything would become clear tomorrow, and he would be plunged into hell. I'm nervous. My name is Kevin. Dressed in a suit, I went to an interview at a certain company. This company, located in a prime location near the station, with its own building in downtown, was overwhelming with its magnificent structure. I entered nervously and waited quietly at the reception. Entering with a student's mindset was a fresh feeling. I was a so-called high school dropout, having left high school prematurely. During my high school years, I was subjected to a lot of harassment and bad-mouthing from my classmates, which eventually led me to become a truant, unable to attend school. I reminisced about those days. I'll never forget the days of harassment from my classmates.
Kevin, you're so gloomy and weird. Don't look at us.
The ringleader of the bullying was Jim. His grandfather was a city councilman with a lot of power, so Jim thought very highly of himself. He had many followers, and everyone looked up to him. On the other hand, I was introverted and ate a lot due to stress, so I was a bit chubby back then. This made me a target for teasing and harassment from my classmates.
Hey, fatty, move. You're blocking my way.
Does it smell like pig here? It stinks, doesn't it?
Jim's cronies would say this while snickering and looking at me. Jim seemed to enjoy it, watching and laughing. But I, who had good grades, once scored 100 on a test. The teacher was happy for me, as if it were his own achievement.
Kevin, you got 100 again on the test. Everyone should take a leaf out of his book.
Aw, come on, teacher. Why are you giving special treatment to Kevin?
We can't study as well as Kevin, can we?
Stop making excuses and study, you guys.
This only made my classmates resent me more, and I became more isolated. Jim, especially, seemed to dislike my indifference to currying favor.
His dad's not around, so he's got it easy.
Must be nice having no one at home to get mad at you.
Maybe he's secretly a mama's boy. Haha.
The fact that my father had passed away became another reason for mockery. I gradually withdrew into myself due to the relentless teasing and harassment, eventually leading to my truancy. My mother tried to protect me by complaining to the school, but Jim, being the son of a local influential figure and having a good public image, was believed by the teachers. That's right, at school, there was not a single person on my side, not even the teachers.
You've done nothing wrong, so don't blame yourself.
My mother, Mary, respected my decision and said it was okay for me not to go to school. She took me out to lift my spirits, even taking me to her workplace, and had me do simple chores to build my confidence. It helped me so much. I can't thank her enough for her support during those times. Years have passed since those days of gratitude, and now, thanks to my mom's introduction, I work as an office clerk in a small firm. The reason I'm interviewing now is that the form is dissolving, and I was referred for the interview by the office manager. As I sat nervously in the waiting room, a man noticed my anxiety and struck up a conversation.
Are you also here for the interview today?
Yes, you too.
Yes. It's strangely nerve-wracking before an interview, isn't it? My name is Mike.
I'm Kevin. Let's both do our best. Talking to Mike, a recent graduate, in the waiting room helped ease my tension a bit. Then, looking around, he whispered,
But this company, while its business is attractive, there's talk on social media about the interviewer's high-handed attitude.
Really?
Not to eavesdrop, but I heard everything. I'm Jake. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Jake, another candidate with keen ears. He joined our conversation, sharing a story about a friend who had faced intimidating remarks in their interview. The more we talked, the more anxious I felt, but I shook off the nerves and took notes of their detailed stories.
Notes for the interview?
Yes, I thought it might be necessary. I have a suggestion for both of you. As I explained my proposal to the intrigued pair, I handed them something, which they accepted and tucked into their pockets. Then, with nerves high, the interview began. The interviewer was alone, and his face was familiar. It was Jim, my former high school classmate who had bullied me. Noticing me, Jim smirked unpleasantly. He enjoyed the situation just like he used to.
Kevin, the high school dropout, long time no see. What have you been up to since dropping out of high school? A neat?
As soon as I sat down, Jim mocked me, but I remained calm. Meanwhile, Jim bragged about graduating from a public university and becoming the rising star of the company, even talking about succeeding his grandfather as a councilman. All unsolicited.
Hey, are you listening? Same old silent guy, ho?
Of course, I'm listening. Please, continue. Seemingly annoyed by my quiet demeanor, Jim's mood visibly soured, but I didn't want to add fuel to the fire and urged him to go on. Taking this as a cue to continue, Jim's mood changed completely, and he happily resumed his monologue. As the interview neared its end, Jim, smirking again, posed another question.
Why would a high school dropout apply to our company, which requires a college degree?
I've written it in my resume, so it would be great if you could take a look.
Your resume isn't worth looking at, haha. You don't even have the qualifications to apply, haha.
In response to my calm demeanor, Jim suddenly grabbed my resume from the table and tore it to shreds.
No job for a poor high school dropout. Anything else you want to say?
As my resume fluttered around, torn apart by Jim, he grinned at my shocked reaction. But my surprise was only because I didn't expect my resume to be torn, as the rest of the conversation had gone as anticipated. I stood up calmly, forced a smile on my face, and said to Jim, "Good luck with your job search starting tomorrow."
Huh?
Jim, the interviewer, was taken aback by my unexpected words, looking utterly shocked. I left the place without further interaction. The next day, I was on my way to that same company, accompanied by my boss, David.
Wasn't he a former classmate of yours? You probably didn't want to see him, right?
David, who knew about my past, expressed his concern, but I shook my head. It's for work, so I won't be selfish. Besides, I'm not who I was back then. I want to teach him a lesson.
You'd be a scary enemy to have.
Initially, David looked intimidated by my determined expression, but in the end, he praised me as a reliable subordinate. He really is a dependable boss. I stood up calmly, forced a smile on my face, and said to Jim, David said that with determination as he knocked on the door of the CEO's office of the company where I had my interview the day before. Inside, CEO Michael was present. After seeing us, he asked his secretary to call the person responsible for the whole situation. Shortly after, Jim entered the room, his face pale.
Kevin, what the hell did you tell them at the company?
Jim, noticing me, rushed over and grabbed me by the collar.
Stop that, Jim.
However, after being sternly reprimanded by the CEO, Jim, who had grabbed me, glared at me fiercely and then roughly let go of my shirt. He sure knows how to obediently follow those with more power than himself.
Do you know why you've been called here?
Michael asked Jim, who responded with silence. Seeing this, Michael sighed and introduced David as a lawyer.
Nice to meet you, Jim. I'm David, a lawyer. We're here because several students are planning to file a lawsuit against the company for the mental distress caused by your oppressive interview techniques.
There seems to be some misunderstanding, Jim muttered, trying to downplay the situation. I didn't let him off the hook and took out a tablet I had prepared. I have proof of the oppressive interviews. I'll play the recordings from this tablet. I operated the tablet, playing each recording one by one.
You don't say much, do you? Aren't you told you lack personality? You're not pretty, are you? Shall I teach you how to be pretty? Oh, you graduated from that university. It's full of dummies, so you're probably useless for this company. Looks matter, you know. Ugly people should get plastic surgery before coming for an interview.
All these were in Jim's voice, and his face grew paler as he listened. The CEO's face was flushed red with anger. Although he hadn't known about it until now, he must be especially furious to have had such a person conducting interviews at his company. Of course, we have witnesses.
Please, call in those two gentlemen.
Understood.
Understanding the situation, the CEO instructed his secretary, who then left and returned with two individuals. Those two were Mike and Jake, whom Jim recognized and who had waited with me in the waiting room yesterday, each having their separate interviews. I had given voice recorders to these two gentlemen, who were also here for interviews. I asked them to start recording when their turn was close. Here's what we captured. I took the voice recorders from Mike and Jake and played them.
This is Mike. I was drawn to the attractive job description of your company.
You're dreaming if you think it's easy here. I'm strict, and I'll fire you quickly if you annoy me. Understand?
I'm Jake. I applied after seeing your job posting, eager to engage in this line of work.
It says here you have a good memory. That's it. Frankly, it's all about whether you can work or not. Well, you're from that university, so I guess you're useless, haha.
After playing each voice recorder and listening to the end, I turned off the recorders. Just like during my interview, both Mike and Jake had endured a barrage of harsh words followed by being subjected to Jim's boastful stories. As everyone's gaze turned to Jim, his face was sweaty, and he stammered in response.
This was all to test the students' resilience.
Some students have actually suffered mental and physical health issues due to your interviews. We have medical certificates to prove it, so we can't just write this off as a resilience test.
David then pulled out a doctor's diagnosis from his suit and presented it to Jim. Reacting impulsively, Jim snatched the diagnosis from David's hand and tore it up, just like he had done with my resume. I had anticipated this, so I informed him that we had kept the original diagnosis safe and only presented him with a copy. At this revelation, Jim's face turned beet red. He never learns from his own actions.
A high school dropout, huh? What are you trying to pull here?
Jim shifted his gaze from David to me, looking like he was about to grab me again. I think there's a misunderstanding here. So let me clarify. Yes, I dropped out of high school, but I went on to graduate from college.
What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind?
Jim, unable to comprehend what I was saying, tilted his head in laughter. I understood that someone with his limited understanding would find it hard to grasp. In fact, after dropping out of high school, I had taken the high school equivalency exam and passed. I then enrolled in a prestigious university's law school and later attended law graduate school. David was a friend of my late father and a lawyer. My mother had worked in David's office when I was in high school. During my truancy days, it was David who had given me small tasks at his office.
Hey, Kevin, you're doing great. You've got a bright future ahead of you.
I remember David being very kind to me, as I was allowed to come and go in his office from a young age, and he knew my situation well. My mom respected him greatly.
You can do it, Kevin. You'll pass for sure.
Encouraged by David, I completed my judicial clerkship at his office this year and successfully passed the final exams. David was overjoyed, embracing me as if it were his own achievement. I still work in his office today. Also, David occasionally gave lectures at the university as a visiting professor, where students approached him about oppressive interviews.
I'd really like you to go undercover, Kevin. How about it? Will you give it a try?
Me? I'm not sure. I don't have much confidence.
Don't worry. Just go for the interview and record it. By the way, here's the info on the interviewer.
I was shocked to see the name Jim and his photo on the document. It was definitely him, the one who had bullied me in high school. David, please let me handle this job.
Well, you're suddenly eager. Do you know the guy?
David asked tentatively, and when I reluctantly confirmed, he started to worry and even considered calling off the job, which made me laugh. His reaction back then was quite amusing. It was undoubtedly Jim, the same person who had harassed me in high school. Several students who had been subjected to Jim's oppressive interviews decided to sue, and it was natural for me to attend the interview without raising suspicion.
David and I have known each other for a long time. I was surprised when he asked to investigate our company, but I agreed because such interview practices should not be happening.
Michael and David were acquaintances, and they had arranged for my undercover operation. As Michael informed Jim on this, his face turned even paler.
We, as a company, need to take responsibility for this. We intend to compensate the victims who suffered under your interviews.
What?
We will also hold you accountable, Jim. We'll seek damages from you.
Michael then announced disciplinary dismissal to Jim for causing significant harm to the company.
No, boss, I didn't mean any harm. I was just testing their stress resilience.
Weren't you just relieving your own stress? Plus, it seems you've been under a lot of stress from your gambling losses.
Jim was known to be an avid gambler, often pouring money into gambling. He was frequently irritable after gambling losses, seemingly taking out his frustration on interviewees.
Boss, please forgive me, it wasn't intentional.
If I forgive you now, more victims will suffer, and I can bear that thought. Sorry, but I won't budge on my decision.
But please,
Jim pleaded with Michael, but he was firm and unyielding.
Even if it wasn't intentional, that doesn't make it right. I want you to understand that. David, I'd like to officially assign this case to you.
In that case, how about assigning Kevin for this task? He was the one who went undercover for this investigation, and if you agree, Michael, I'd like to recommend him.
Of course, that's fine. If you say so, I trust Kevin can handle it.
Leave it to me. I was determined to fulfill the task I had been given. Jim was still in disbelief, shaking his head in denial. He really doesn't know when to give up. Should I also sue you for defamation and insult? I've suffered mental and physical distress.
You don't look like it at all. Besides, there's no way I'd lose to someone like you, Kevin.
Shall we proceed with the legal process?
You can't do that. My grandfather won't allow it.
Jim threw a childish tantrum before fleeing the CEO's office. We were utterly dismayed that a man nearing 30 still relied on his grandfather, the city councilman's influence. Our investigation revealed that Jim had joined the company through his grandfather's connections. Because of this, he continued to act arrogantly, just like he did as a student. After he moved to the HR department, his attitude became a concern for the company, especially since it was affecting its reputation among job-seeking students. However, there was no concrete evidence at the time. That's why I collaborated with Mike and Jake, who had their interviews on the same day as me under the guise of a proposal, and had them carry voice recorders in their pockets. As expected, Jim's abusive language during the interviews served as evidence, leading to this lawsuit.
I can't believe the guy interviewing with us was a liar.
Do you actually have a lawyer's badge or something?
Right after leaving the CEO's office, Mike and Jake bombarded me with questions. It seemed like it was their first time meeting a lawyer, and they looked at me with eyes sparkling with admiration. Of course, here it is.
Wow.
I showed them my lawyer's badge, which I had kept hidden during the undercover operation, eliciting cheers from them.
I should have aimed to be a lawyer too, especially after that interview. I'm not sure if I passed. The CEO had surveillance cameras in the interview room, so he'll review the footage and inform you both of the results later.
That's great.
Mike and Jake were visibly relieved, making me feel somewhat guilty for involving them in the investigation. I reattached my lawyer's badge and apologized to them sincerely. I'm really sorry for dragging you both into this without revealing my identity. I made you both feel anxious, didn't I?
What are you talking about? If you hadn't gone undercover, we would have been unfairly rejected based on that interviewer's whims.
Seriously, we owe you big time for saving us from an unjust rejection.
Hearing them say that made me feel that my undercover efforts were worthwhile. Seeing their relieved expressions, I felt glad that I could make them happy, and at the same time, relieved that we were able to prevent any further harm.
Since we're all here, how about having lunch together?
That sounds great, Kevin. Will you join us?
I'd love to. After checking my watch and seeing I had time before my afternoon duties, I agreed to join them for lunch. It felt like making new friends. Their friendly demeanor naturally brought a smile to my face. Later, I learned that Mike and Jake were successfully hired, while Jim was officially fired. I conveyed the news to them, and they were overjoyed. They thanked me again, so I emphasized that it was their own abilities that led to their success. Still, I bet they were really thrilled to be hired. Later, they invited me out for drinks, and I eagerly anticipated it. Meanwhile, Jim hadn't shown up at the company since storming out of the CEO's office. His parents had handled all the formalities with the company on his behalf. I wondered why he hadn't taken responsibility himself, but with the company's official decision, there was nothing more to say.
I heard Jim got fired from the company.
It's only natural. Honestly, it's a relief.
Apparently, Jim's arrogant behavior at the office meant no one was sorry to see him go. The atmosphere in the office has improved a lot thanks to you. I'm really glad I left it in your hands, Kevin. Thank you again. The CEO expressed his gratitude to me over the phone. I could almost see his happy face as he spoke. Just when I thought everything was settled, the next day brought a new development. The next day, Jim and his grandfather, James, visited David's law office.
I heard there's a lawyer named Kevin here. Could I meet with him? I'd like to discuss the matter regarding my grandson's commotion.
James, who arrived with a burly man in a black suit, asked for me. Surprised by the sudden visit, I braced myself, but James bowed to me sincerely.
I'm sorry for what my grandson did. I wasn't aware of his actions, and as his grandfather, I feel responsible.
I had heard James was a city council member, but he was more humble than I expected. He had believed in Jim, who was academically successful and good at maintaining appearances, and was unaware of the harassment Jim had inflicted. It seemed that Jim had been silencing others and using his grandfather's influence to his advantage. I never thought he would use my influence to bully others, James explained.
After asking his friends and local acquaintances, I found out he's been a fool. First, I want to apologize to you for the harassment since high school.
Saying so, James bowed again. Jim, though sulking, bowed slightly as well. I wish Jim would learn from his grandfather. Please raise your head. If you keep bowing, I feel like I'll be struck by lightning. I intervened, fearing James would keep bowing indefinitely. James then told me he intended to retire from politics because of this incident.
And I want to ask David to be my successor.
Me, I'm honored, but…
David was planning to close his office and run for election, but being James's successor was beyond his expectations. His reaction showed he hadn't fully grasped the reality yet.
Is everything okay with this? Shouldn't we discuss it more?
You're famous as the only trustworthy lawyer in town, well-connected and well-regarded by citizens. There's no mistaking your qualifications. I'm not making this decision lightly.
James mentioned that since he was retiring, he would ask his supporters to endorse David. James's son wasn't interested in politics, and Jim was out of the question, so he had no one else to ask.
Okay, if you're sure, I'll take on the role.
Thank you. I'm counting on you.
David and James shook hands, agreeing to the proposal. Jim was set to help with James' farm.
While I'm alive, I won't let you do anything wrong. I'll be strict.
James declared that enthusiastically, and Jim's face turned even paler beside him. Months later, David was successfully elected, and I took over his law office.
Doing well, Kevin.
Even now, David visits the office when he has time, and I'm truly grateful. To me, David is like a second father. I never thought our relationship would become so real. David, did you go on a date with Mom?
What are you grinning about? Is it bad to go out?
I teased David, who asked me back bashfully. Yes, recently David and my mom got married, having developed a relationship from mutual respect. No, it's great to see you so happy. I chuckled at David's newlywed happiness, radiating a joyful aura. Of course, I was happy for their happiness, and having David as my new father was an honor. It was easy to accept him because he had always been there for my mother and me. He has always been supporting us endlessly. He helped me through my mother during the times I was harassed in high school. And it was him who encouraged me and suggested taking the high school equivalency exam when I gave up on pursuing college. I am forever grateful to David. As for Jim, he's now struggling with a family farm business. With James, who retired as a city council member, keeping a strict watch on him, Jim apparently can't indulge in his previous habits of gambling and partying, not even managing to go out for drinks. I heard rumors that Jim's former classmates, who used to follow him around, Don't even give him a second glance now. When I was set to meet everyone from high school at the reunion, I felt a sense of unease, recalling those times. But now,